Hey guys, we're going to do number 2 now. The question involves two classes that are used to process log messages. A list of sample log messages is given below. You guys already read this. And so with that being said, I'm just going to come right over here, and it says the log messages have the format machine ID colon description. So each one of these, that's your machine ID, and then that's your description. And you're only gonna have one colon with absolutely no space between them. So that's gonna be important for this problem. So this says where machine ID identifies the computer and description describes the event being logged, and there's exactly one colon. There are no blanks in either, there are no blanks in either immediately before or immediately after the colon. Great. So now it says the following log message class is used to represent a log message. You're going to have these two private variables. They're both of type string. So a couple of things that we're going to need to remind ourselves. The first thing is, let's pretend I have a string name, and then I call it, let's say, AP comp sci. These are all capital letters, let's just say. Okay. If I do name dot substring, well, remember, if there are two, first of all, it takes on integers, and if there are two integers, it's going to stop at one less. So in other words, if I have something, let's say from 0 to 4, this is going to be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, but we don't do 4, we do 3. So this is going to return APCO. Okay, so this stops at one less, so that's important. Now, if I have a dot substring and I only have one number, let's say 5, and then what that would return is, it'll go to 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, P, and so it'll return a PSCI. So that's what that does, okay? So remind yourselves that this stops one before it. So the last thing I want to say is name dot index of, the O is capital, and what we do here is we actually put a string and it's going to return an integer. So let's pretend that the string that we are looking for is comp. Well, and it's case sensitive, obviously, so everything would have to match. So it would go to C. It has to find every single letter, 1, 2, 3, 4. Once it finds the entire phrase, it will tell you where it begins. So 0, 1, 2. So this is going to return the integer 2. So index of returns an integer, substring returns a string. One other thing is, let's say I put COMP and then I put an L here. Well, it has to find everything. And since it doesn't find COMPL, it returns a -1. So these are the important things to remember. So index of is really important because it can tell you where the word is in your string. Okay, so let's get started. This is a machine ID and a description, and between the machine ID, remember, and the description, there's going to be a colon. So it says, write the constructor for the log message class. It must initialize the private data of the object so that the get machine ID returns the machine ID part of the message, and get description returns the description part. So I didn't crop it, but there's also a get machine ID and a get description, which you guys can go back and take a look at. So it wants the part of the message. So I'm just going to take the answer key and take a look at it, and we can just discuss it. So above here, above the constructor, we saw that it was these two guys. So these two, you're going to have to initialize it. So this is, first and foremost, we want to break it up. So they call this colon here, which is a great variable for this. It says, go to the message that you're passing in, index of and let's find this colon, okay? Remember, colon will be a string. So once it finds it, it's going to return an integer because that's what index of returns. So if it was, let's say, JR colon ABC, then this is going to return 0, 1, 2. So this will just return the index 2. Now, think about this. Machine ID, which is the private variable, message.substring 0 to 2. Because what does 2 give you? 2 tells you that to stop at 1. So that's 0 to really 1 so this is 0 and 1. So message.substring 0 to colon, because remember, it stops right before the colon. And then this here description will be the remainder. It'll be ABC. Let's just pretend that D, E, F, and so on. It'll give you from here to here. So substring without a comma tells you to go to that number and go all the way across. So colon, remember that colon tells you where the colon is because that's what you put there. And so if you got to go right after the colon, so colon plus 1, and that would give you the A. So that's how we do part A. I hope this makes sense, and I hope you guys were able to do that. So now in the constructor, you initialized the private data of the object, so the get machine ID returns the machine part of it, okay? And then the get description returns the description part. So now you can get the machine ID and the description part. So I'll do part B and C in a different video.